So I just finished the shark missions at the Amiga station, what there is so far of the shark missions at Amiga station, which is 3 of them. As far as I could see, there wasn't really a lot more for me to do other than to go and visit the proving grounds. So that's what I decided to do, is head out to the rollerboy location. I knew that there was a mission there, which is it's called the Felis mission, or I call it Felix. The rollerboy mission is really at the very base of the map that we have so far. You can see at the bottom there, 5.4 kilometers away from where I am currently, and one of the more denser areas. Now the thing here is that it got rainy and stormy, and visibility dropped to a stupidly low level, and for some reason or other I got sidetracked, completely sidetracked, and then suddenly the base was in front of me and I crashed into it. Doink. So this is, yeah, it's interesting base. There is multiple different types of baddies. I'm not going to spoil too much of the what you've got to do to clear the base. I always try and clear as much as I can from the boat, but the green things are fine because they're like little beetles that spit acid at you and fall in the water like that. But the orange baddies emit flying bugs, which are a real pain, and the red ones we know emit the sea slugs that are horrid if you don't have infrared light. Kill them. So typically how I'll clear out a base is I'll go through, I'll check every crevice, I'll maybe salvage the robots that I come across or the high value items, but generally I'll not touch anything. And just clear out all the baddies. But this was particularly tough because there were all the baddies. The beetles, the sea slugs, the flying things, the lot. I do think I would have been better off with a flamethrower, but I got locked into this and I have to say I couldn't really be bothered to go back and change them out of weapons. I persevered, but it was painful. So we found the main power station, cleared out all the baddies inside it. We're one of the big fire bombs. I think I'm actually, now I've got an excess of petrol, I might start using fire bombs more often. I had been using oxygen bombs beforehand because they were just cheaper to make or easier to make. Built my solar panel, built my battery, and turned on the power. Just like that. So then it was about going through the different areas and clearing them out. So I'm obviously looking for the Felix mission here. And then I found this arena. A couple of grenades there. But this looks like an arena. It looks like a test battle site or something like that. Had a little wander around, worked out what I was going to do and what I wasn't going to do. I decided that if there was anything coming out of that door at the end there, then I would use this lift as a way to escape that. So I got this grinder working, which was pretty cool. I don't know whether I must have did I start the mission with the grinder on? That'd be interesting. I don't think any of the baddies fell in there. But it looks like something opened up. But there we go. I went straight up here. Wow, they came out quickly. And I literally, because I had a height advantage, it was almost a bit unfair, really. Other than the fact that I almost blew myself up immediately. But anyway, they weren't particularly difficult to kill, especially with grenades. But then we had the roller boy with the laser beam, and he ran straight past a grenade, and then somehow or other I managed to just drop the other grenade where I was. If you just let go of the grenade thinking it's just going to lob it, it doesn't. You have to actually hold the fire button the amount of distance you want the grenade to throw, and if you just let go of the fire, it just drops it at your feet. It doesn't feel particularly intuitive. Anyway, we sorted him out, and then once you've had a look at this wonderfully silver room and wonder what it was here for beyond just holding a couple of roller boys, you then go up the stairs, and this is where you get the Felix mission. And there is Felix. Now, you can't take him with you, but you can scan him, and that gives you the mission, I believe. And thus begins our Felix mission. Now, there's also a Sweethearts mission here, which by scanning this, you can eventually craft a grenade, which is these machines. You can hear that the AI gets a bit confused. Felis, I just called it Felix because Felis doesn't slip off the tongue. But you can't take that with you, unfortunately. To save you a lot of bother. But anyway, the mission then becomes about building Felix, and then realizing that there are some shortcomings to the AI the developers have currently built into Felix. But it's nice it is nice to have something about us. We'll see as we go on this mission. I wish I could scan this beautiful table, but I can't. So we get done here. As we headed out, we did stop for some shark hunting, which is always a risky business, but it's also quite satisfying and a great source of parts. But doing this kind of salvage, I really enjoy. I really enjoy salvage in all the games I play. But it's risky now in The Last Caretaker because there are these super fast ram sharks, and they can appear out of nowhere. These little red boys are a great resource for paint, batteries and materials, and you can actually just very easily pick up what's in them, even just stood next to them. You don't have to jump on them, and they immediately sink. I have followed one of these down to about 400 meters and they just vanish, or they just land on the ocean floor if the ocean floor is higher. But it just looks beautiful, eh? So I'm heading towards one of these new seed stores. It's an unknown, so it's a new. And I'm really just looking to see what it is. I've built, and launched humans into space before, so I've collected seeds, but I just didn't understand why so many new seed stores had been added. So I thought, I wonder if there's something new with these seed stores. So I'm using this thing. I've only got one of these. You see some people have multiples of them, but I've only got one. So you have some people that have them spread around the ship. I did position this everywhere on the ship, try and work out where it best suited me, but it just suited me, just stood right next to me. Wish I could push it a little bit back, but there you go. But it sits right there, and what I do is just always line up what I'm trying to look at on my left hand side, so I can line up where I drop the anchor and go down. You can see here, you'll see the seed pod in a second. I'm just really here to see, well, what's different about it. Now there is something different about it, nothing great, but it does add to the immersion, I believe. Anyway, we should see a seed pod in a second. There we go, 100 meters down, and there it is on the display. And you can see there it's actually quite high up, so it's not a particularly long drop to get to it. I'll always take a bolt rifle or bolt gun with me. You see here there's sharks quite close by, and I'm deliberating whether to go and get the materials and everything from that boy. But what I need to do is just go down and check. So, sharks close. We'll do a backup just in case. I do like the backup is integral to the actual ship. Let's load up and get going. This is a bolt action rifle, so it's quite useful. So we're going to be on high alert for sharks. But you can see here that... So this is Seed Reserve 1, and Seed Reserve 1 is very close to the Lazarus station. Seed Reserve 1 and I believe Seed Reserve 12 are very close to the Lazarus station. So they're really optimal locations that you want to visit to get your first batches of humans. So this is all new for me. You notice that you never used to just swim in here and open the hatch. So the fact you've got to give it power, I think, is excellent. Really adds to immersion. Of course, you haven't got a power cable and you've just swam down 200 meters as you can sometimes. It can be a bit of a pain, but most of the time you're always going to have an electric cable with you. So I just checked out this seed reserve. It took me a moment to work it out. The lid kept closing, but there we are. We're in here. We've got 4 seeds. I wasn't actually looking to take a seed right now, but I just wanted to check to make sure it was all as I was expecting, and it was. It just means that we now have a lot more seed stations than we had before. Now that I've seen that we've got these committee meetings, these committees to create. Now that I've seen that we've got these committees to create for people out in space, then it makes sense that they would have added more seeds, because they're expecting us to create 4 to 5 people at a time, and we're going to be mass producing humans by the look of it. As ever, coming out of these seed stations and swimming back to the surface is a precarious thing, because you never know what's... I've done this maybe 20 times, and then twice I think I've turned around and there's been a shark almost nose to nose with me, and it scares the living daylights out of you, because there's a lot of reasons why you would get a warning sound that there's danger near, but most of the time underwater it's because of the sea slugs. But I have now worked out there's a slightly different sound for the sharks. It actually is a different warning sound. Now you can see there the angel above my ship, and it's above my ship because I'm directly above the seed store. Now if I had actually taken a seed, the angel would not have been happy with me, which is a new thing. But now this is a little bit later, as I was heading back to work out what I was going to do about building a Felix. I found some new underwater ruins, and this is significant because you can see here I am almost empty of power, and I even need to recharge myself, which is difficult underwater. You can recharge yourself with batteries. So I headed to the surface. I didn't really know where I was. You can set up a marker for the boat, and I got to the surface. Okay, where's my boat? Now you can quite often, if there's lightning, you can see that there are buildings silhouetted. That might be the boat over there, or there. It's incredible, eh? How you can get turned around. Now, I never like swimming on top of the water because you just don't know what's going on below, and decided to duck down. And I could just see something, a little shape in the distance. What's that? And then I think, well, okay, that looks big. And of course it was right, but it was swimming down, so I didn't really worry too much about it because, like I said before, is the sharks in this game don't really pay too much mind, but I always hate being on top of the water. You just don't know what's coming at you from below. But at least if you're below the water surface, you can see what's going on. I'm almost completely out of power. I've just put the gun away. That's where I've just been. And oh shit. Now what's really interesting about this is it's a laser. Now look at this. It seems to not do almost any damage whatsoever. So I'm firing away with my bolter pistol, rifle. But it's not doing any damage with its laser underwater. So the thing is, if you are going to be taking on one of these sharks, is go underwater and fight it. I haven't been brave enough to test that yet in another scenario, but I did try and test it later on the water's surface. Do you know what I thought? I'm just going to get back to the ship. Let me just get back to the ship. Because my heart rate was about 140 after turning around and seeing that come out of the dark. It's amazing how quickly it came at me as well. What I was really surprised at as well is how far from the ship I'd gotten. Now, the underwater city had been quite far away. Well, not directly underneath me. But I had got... There's another shark over there, but I wouldn't want to spend too much time in the water with a shark over there on the right hand side, but I wouldn't really be worried about it. It's starting to get a bit dark here now. I haven't got my torch on. So we had parked over by the seed store, which is why we still got the angel above us. Anyway, survived that one. So this is a good way of fishing for bio. Stuff is just go and jump down there without your light on. And then they'll all flock to you and then you can harvest all the zapped bios. Always a bit disconcerting to see just how big they are. Because they look so real, I think what this game does a really good job of is the invocation of underwater terror. So then I headed out over to the eastern part of the map, and the mountain ranges that we found. See those little sharks there? They'll ram your boat if they absolutely can, and they'll cause maybe 2 to 3% damage each time they ram it. So they don't tend to do a lot of ramming, and they'll ram and then go. So I got to this range here, and basically what I was looking for is the green crystals. Now I remembered seeing green crystals, but I couldn't remember exactly where I saw them. So I pulled up at the first place, and you can see there's a ton of stuff here, and there is a lot of ore and stuff like that. So I jumped in and took a look, and I had full expectation that I would find some of this green ore here. But this is gold, iron, copper. So it was quite interesting swimming around here, finding this stuff, but I didn't find any of the luminous green stuff. Other than just the sheer pleasure of swimming underwater here. Yeah, you get out of the water in this game, and it feels like getting out of water, even though you're playing a game. So I couldn't work out how to get the green crystals. It did occur to me later on how to do it. So I had a look around the island, this island area here, to see whether I could find some of these quantum crystals, I think they're called. So you can see here at the top of some of these spires there are like green crystals. They are the green crystals I need. I have spent quite some time trying to climb those, and it didn't occur to me on this occasion that I could shoot them. And so I just looked at them, and almost every single one of these spires has a green crystal on the top. And I think you need 4 crystals to build a Felix machine. It just never occurred to me to shoot them. So I took a closer look at those spires to see if any of the crystals fell off and soaked to the bottom, or dropped to the bottom, but none of them did. The crystals just seemed to be stuck at the top of the spires. So we see we've got titanium there, but none of the green stuff is at the bottom here that I could see. Most of what I did when I went away was do the main. So I did the main mission, and yeah, you have to build multiple humans, and I was on the way to launch the humans I'd built when I discovered an interesting bug. So I killed this shark, and I cut it up. I was stood too far forward, which means I got hardly any of the debris when it fell off. So what I did is I ducked down under the water to work out where it all was, and then I just disappeared down some black hole. So I launched my humans up into space to form their committee and watched the Godzilla arms capture the returned ship. Now, I have seen someone stand on that ladder there, but I wasn't brave enough to do that. I could have backed up and stood there. But the humans were launched, and now it was time to really spend some time on Felix. So on the way back, we're heading back towards these rocky outcrops with the quantum materials. I, not having had enough encounters with sharks, decided I needed to have more encounters. Now what you can see here, I don't know why I'm heading towards this shark. I obviously thought I was being clever. 2 active sharks here. What happens though is I get bedded down in the water and freak out a little bit. So I then think, okay, I'm going to come round here. I'm just going to come round here, jump off the boat and jump up the ladder. And I've done this a few times before with sharks chasing me. And then what you do is you get sorted, you get charged back up, and then you go and attach the jet ski. Well, I got sort of sidetracked here. For some reason or other, went to cut it up without using the jet ski, killed another shark, decided to cut that up without using the jet ski, got back on the boat and went on my merry way. I think I was just about here. For whatever reason, I can't remember. It suddenly occurred to me that I hadn't seen the jet ski for a while. Looked at the back of the boat and thought, bloody hell, where's the jet ski gone? Well, I couldn't remember where I'd last used it. I remembered I'd used it, but I had done a bit of diving about without the jet ski. Because the baddie. So, but I thought, ah, well, it's floating about somewhere. Like I said, I'd lost it multiple times before, but never, more than a couple of hours. But this is in real time. It's about 2 days since I last used a jet ski, but in game time, it's at least several hours. I've more than that actually. I dropped off the jet ski. I'd gone back to Lazarus. I checked on the status of my humans that I'd launched into space. And then I'd come all the way over here. But I have to say I was more of the mind like, oh well, I'll find it somewhere. So I thought, I'll just get these crystals and go and find it. I really wasn't in any great hurry. So I just positioned myself up and I think I shot enough that I'd have enough to create 2 Felixes. Because I had heard on the Vine that the Felix is a little bit unpredictable. There you go, you can see them falling into the water there. And I found them. Cool. Actually, it looked a lot further away than it was. So that's what I did. I sailed around for a little while. I managed to shoot down about 8 to 10 rocks of quantum material. I'm not sure whether it grows back. We'll see. I'm sure at some point in the game, if they intend to use quantum material, they will make it more readily available, but and so I dropped those rocks into the mangler and it produced some neatly packaged quantum stuff that I then did nothing with, apparently. So I had 2 missions to attend to. Now I had my quantum. Because number 1, I wanted to create a Felix, and number 2, I needed to go back and find my jet ski. So I'm just now basically all the way. I realised I didn't have a jet ski just as I approached here. So I then just started looking everywhere for the jet ski. Just to keep my eyes out everywhere I went. Of course, when you need to see into the distance as far as you can, the first thing that happens is it starts raining and it gets dark and you can't see a thing. I'm not sure whether that would be a thing in real life. Like you can see the shadows of stuff, even when you can't see the buildings itself. I'm just trying to work out whether that would be real or not. See these? If you imagine you're in a jet ski and one of those pops up next to you, it has happened. I must have run it over. It's not very happy with me. But I'm on a mission, and that mission is to find my jet ski. I wasn't sure where I'd last seen it. I thought it was here by the Lazarus station. I kept seeing those sharks and thinking they were but they have roughly a SAM outline. But when you zoom in, you realise, no, that's not a jet ski. That's a shark with a laser beam on the strap to its back. What I did is I sailed in circles around the station. And then I decided to go back to the Exodus station because I thought that possibly I'd lost the jet ski at the Exodus station. And I have to say I couldn't find it. I went around the station, ever increasing circles, and could not see the jet ski anywhere. So I kind of just sort of thought, well, okay, well, I'm just going to back and forth between Lazarus and the shark station and see what I can see. But I thought it has got, and then maybe go to the Exodus, which is a hell of a hike from Lazarus. But I'd run out of diesel, so I was only on electric, doing 20 knots an hour. But I was searching for the jet ski, so I wasn't in really any great hurry. And then I just saw a little dot on the horizon, as I panned over. You can just see it there, just from behind the shark station. What's that? I thought, oh, it's going to be another shark with a laser on its back. And nope, there it was, the jet ski. Got there and there it was. Hello. Very pleased to be back on that jet ski. I use it so often. Like I said, it's got a sentimental attachment to it now. Yeah, I literally picked it up as soon as update 2 came out. And I use it a lot. A lot of people don't use it, but I use it a lot. There's a shark coming there. I saw that as well. But we're not having that same thing happen again. I didn't get the warning sound, so it doesn't look like the shark saw me. So then it was a matter of getting to a dock and then creating my Felix. And there he is, the Felix.
So small and round, and already calculating how best to follow you.
And I have to say,
Caretaker, in a world that has forgotten everything of value, a loyal escort serves as more than a mere tool.
he's nice to have around, but he's psychotic and suicidal. On occasions I did just open the door and let him out just to see what would happen. I did have enough of the quantum materials to create another one if I lost him, but I didn't want to lose him like I didn't want to lose the jet ski. He is quite cute. It's like having a dog, to be honest. So I started leaving the door open. And all the while in the background you could still hear him, and quite often he would just retreat back into that space, and sometimes I wouldn't be brave anymore and lock him in. My deliberation was always, do I take him with me or do I leave him behind? Do I take him with me? Do I leave him behind? Because you're trying to get stuff done and he's like a bit of a liability. You'd come back from missions, check on him, he'd be in the little room there, you go and say hello, pick him up, give him a cuddle, and I was thinking, well, should I just let him loose and just see what happens? Because since update 3 had been released, there'd been patches almost daily to the point where I had made Felix, so I thought, oh, maybe I'll just let him run loose and see whether they fix some of the issues that I'd heard reported. And then I decided, right, okay, let's lift him out of this room and just see what happens. I'm docked. Let's see what happens to him. I just backed up. See what comes of it. What's interesting is that I saw a buoy coming up and I thought, right, I'm going to try my scheme to jump on it, get the stuff, and then jump back on the boat before the boat's gone. I just missed it. But what I did manage to do is get onto, I should have tried to get onto that rudder. I got onto the jet ski. What I should have done is stood up on the jet ski and tried to jump onto the rudder. But it never occurred to me to do that. And the reason I mention this is because I do have to just let the boat go in the end. And what happens is the auto shutdown kicks in. There you go. The ladder goes out. Well, I get back on the boat and I can still hear him think, okay, well, he didn't jump into the water after me, which was kind of what I'd been worrying about. So that was good. And I have to say that I didn't know where he was, but I just thought, well, he's on the bottom deck. What harm can come to him? So I kind of got used to listening to him running around on the boat, but not knowing where he was. Occasionally I'd find him. I'd run around and find him and give him a hug and then put him back down. You can see I dropped him there down in the basement again. and then I'd go about my business, and he just was there. I could just hear him all the time, so I didn't really bother. You can see him up there now, I think. And I keep bumping into him, finding him in different places. I have to say, with all the sharks and everything and all the different creatures around in the ocean, that little Felix there has caused more damage to this ship than anything. You see how he keeps turning the button off there. So he'd run up against the electrical button there and turn it on and off, keep turning it off, turning it on. I thought, right, I've just got to trust him being on the boat. And wherever I went, in the background, I could always hear him. So then I was wandering around the ship, and I could hear him in the background. I heard that noise, and I can still hear him. Still hear him. I can hear him there. And now I can't hear him at all. Now, it didn't occur to me in the game that I couldn't hear him. And then about an hour later, I would say, about an hour or so later, I docked, and it suddenly occurred to me that I hadn't heard Felix for quite a while. So I carried on doing stuff. Yeah, but I have to say, like, I thought, well, Felix will probably be in the water if I've lost him. So I was looking to see where he was, but I'd not heard of him falling off a boat before. So I had a good look around for him. I thought he might be in the local water. I hadn't realised that I hadn't heard him for over an hour, and I could not see him at all. And it was like, ugh. But of course, there's lots of waste in the ocean, and practically every piece of bio waste, everything in the ocean looks like it could be Felix. But I was still thought, okay, well, I'm just going to retrace my steps and go and find him. Up on the roof, I thought, right, I'll get the binocs out and have a good look, see if I can see him. I didn't think it was particularly likely I would see him from up here, but I thought I'd give it a go, because you can just sometimes see stuff in the ocean this far away. Thought I might get lucky like I had with the jet ski, but it was not to be. Right, let's go and have a look underneath the boat, see whether he's fallen off. And he's down below, and I think I actually went quite deep here just to see whether he'd fallen off and sunk to the bottom. But he hadn't. He'd fallen. I know what happened to him now. He wasn't down here. I decided I didn't really have the stomach for doing an intensive search. So what I decided I would do is do the only thing I could do, which was jump back in time. And you can see I can hear him here, but I can't find him. So I can hear him, but I can't find him. So the ship is stopped. Where is he? And so the only place I hadn't looked was in the water. And hey presto, there he was. So what had happened is you can see there that he'd been on the bottom deck and he clipped out through the bottom of the boat. That's all I can work out that happened, is that he clipped out through the bottom of the boat and disappeared into the ocean somewhere. So I've gone back in time to a point where he still exists Now the reason this is important is because you can see here he clipped from the bottom of the boat, but you cannot get him back on the boat. He won't climb up the ladder. The only way I believe that you could possibly get him back would be if you managed to get to that one site that's got a sloped ramp that goes down to where they drag the sharks out of the water. But I can't think of any other location. You just can't do anything with him. So I rolled back to a point in time much further back where he was in there, and he got locked in there, and he has stayed in there ever since. So what was interesting about this, though, was this is the concept of jumping back in time to save him. Gave me a great idea for a short story, which I in my other spare time, in another life, I write fiction, and so I came up with this really great idea for a story about going back in time to save somebody. Not hugely original, but the concept is original, and we'll see how that goes. But it was quite interesting to go back in time to a point when I knew he existed, so that I could get him back, because I didn't want to lose him as a particular character. But so until the devs fix him, he's going to stay right there, and this is me making a line in the sand back up to make sure that I have a backup. And then I had to do everything that I had done in the last 2 or 3 hours again, but this time without losing him or letting him out on the deck, because it was letting him out on the deck that let him into the lower decks, which had him then clip out below the boat. So anyway, so that's been my adventure. That's been my story here in Last Caretaker. I'm interested if anyone watches this. If you've got, give me some comments on kind of content. I'm not really a streamer. I've tried streaming. I don't really enjoy streaming. It's just, streaming a game like this, there's going to be so much in the stream that is particularly boring. So you have to prop it up. Not boring, but, process, grinding, salvage and stuff like that. That, you have to sort of prop it up with personality, and I don't particularly have any charisma or personality. So what I thought I would do is, like I said at the beginning of the video, is do like a director's commentary of my game footage and then edit that. Now, this, what you've seen in this video, is about 1 hour's worth of playback that occurred over a period of 15 hours. Talk to you later. Bye bye.